Alright, hey guys, Viren here from GradStop TV. We're just about to interview Charles Tyrwhitt. He's the owner of Charles Tyrwhitt Shirts and founder. You guys might have seen his shop on Regent Street, German Street. It's a multi-million-pound business. We're going to sit down with him and just pick his brain about entrepreneurship and life. Hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, hey guys, I'm here with the founder of Charles Tyrwhitt Shirts. This is Nick Wheeler. Thanks for being with us today, Nick. He's had a bit of a treacherous journey on the way in, but he's thankfully made it here safe and sound. So, hopefully we're going to run through a few different topics, and Nick is going to give you some amazing golden advice on how to start up your entrepreneurial adventures or just generally your life. So, Nick, you began this company way back 26 years ago now, right? From your university bedroom.
Yeah, I started it in 1986. Were you born in 1986?
No.
It's rather depressing. It was a long time ago. 1986 from my room at Bristol University, yeah.
Yeah, how did that start? What was the idea behind the shirt company?
I think it was, I always knew that I wanted to have my own business.
Mm.
And that was partly because whenever I had holiday jobs, and whenever I had holiday jobs, I wasn't very good at them. And I didn't really like it. I never liked being told what to do.
Oh, I don't think any of us do.
And the great thing about having your own business is that it gives you sort of complete freedom, which is something that always rather appealed to me. And it gives you that ability to make decisions, and if you make the right decision, you get the benefit. And if you make the wrong decision, you take the flak. And I found that in my early jobs, I tended to, if you make the right decision, somebody else takes the benefit, and if you make the wrong decision, you get shut down. So I didn't like that whole unfair culture that existed in businesses as I saw it then. Mm. And I wanted my own business, and a business which I could do differently and where I could make a difference. I had all sorts of businesses. I did a photography business, and a Christmas tree business, and a shoe business, and they were all a bit of a disaster. And then I started the shirt business.
Christmas tree business?
Christmas tree business was good business actually, but it was a sort of slight problem was that it was a bit seasonal.
Yeah.
I remember telling my father, I said, look Dad, I've done this Christmas tree business, I've made lots of money and I'm going to do it full time. And he sort of said, he's always thought I was a bit stupid, in fact I'm a bit stupid, but he said, Nick, it's a seasonal business. And so I thought, yeah, he's probably right. I probably can't do this. I can't do this full time. I can't do this all year. So I went from Christmas trees to shoes.
Okay. So then why from? What happened with the shoes then? I mean,
the shoes was a bit of a disaster. I've always had I'm a big believer in keeping things simple. I like things being simple. I think as a business grows, whether it's tiny or medium sized or big, if you can keep it simple, that's half the battle. It's about making sure everybody knows exactly what's going on and what we're trying to achieve, whether that everybody is one person, 2 people, 10 people, 100,000 people, doesn't matter how many it is. Yeah. But so what I did with the shoes, and it was very much a sort of, it's my, you know, I'm a big believer in having a vision if you start a business. A lot of people get hung up on having the idea. They feel like they can't start a business because they haven't had a good idea. They think they can only start a business if they have an idea like Google or Facebook, and you know, there's plenty of businesses that are not like Google or Facebook. And I'm a big believer that you can do anything, it doesn't matter what you do. You know, I did Christmas trees and shoes and shirts, which none of which are particularly clever ideas. But what I always wanted to do, I wanted to do them, and I wanted to do better quality than anybody else. I wanted to do better value for money than anyone else, and I wanted to give better service than anybody else. Mm. And so, you know, that's what I tried to do with the shoes. And there was a place in India where I'd been travelling on my year off, and I had these shoes made, handmade, made to measure. And they were the best shoes I'd ever had, and I thought, crikey, I can do this as a business. You know, it's quite simple, I can do great quality, great value for money. So I was doing handmade, made to measure shoes, 50 quid. Mm. And I'll give great service. Now the problem was with the service, I got slightly let down by a combination of fax machines and Indian telephone lines.
I don't think they're much better.
I think they are much better actually. But I mean, fax machines have died for a reason, because I used to trace around people's feet, and so the little tracing would go into my fax machine this size, And it was the days when fax machines had those rolls of paper, so the fax could be as long as you liked. So it would go in a perfectly normal size 9 or 10, and it would come out the other end either a size 28 or a size 3, unbeknown to me. So all these shoes arrived, and they were shoes for pixies and clowns, but not for the people who ordered them. So that was a bit of a disaster. So I had the quality was good, the value for money was good, but the service wasn't great because they didn't give people what they wanted. So, and I thought, what can I do instead of shoes? And it was very nice that I fell into shirts, really. I mean, I've always liked shirts. And I think it's important to do something you like. You know, you've got to do something you've got to have a passion for it. You've got to love it. Because at the beginning it's hard work. It's hard work the whole way through. But you know, you've got to, given the choice, you've got to want to do it, almost rather than anything else. Yeah. So you'll work 18 hours a day on it, 7 days a week. Not because you feel you have to, but because you really want to. You just want to do it more than anything else.
So in terms of, with that sort of mindset, when you're now looking into newer ventures, I know you've been involved in a number of successful ventures now, what type of things do you look for? It's not necessarily the apprentice style, look at the facts and figures. Do you look for something more, like something more emotional in that new business or a new venture? Do you look for something that just excites you?
I think it's, you know, there's a lot of cliches around starting a business, and I think they're cliches generally because they're actually quite true, but you tend not to believe them until you really find out for yourself. And one of the big cliches is it's all about the people. And really what I look for in a business is, I don't really care about I almost don't care what the idea is. Like I quite like it if I understand it, that helps. But what I really care about is the people who are doing the business. I want them to be completely passionate about it, completely love doing what they do, and have real belief. You know, I'm a big believer in belief. If you believe something's going to happen, then it will do. You know, I started this business 27 years ago. And God, you know, we've had ups and downs. You know, I've made lots of mistakes. I went bust in 1994, went bust in 2007. But nearly went bust in 2007, didn't really bust. I had a bit of a run with the bank. But, you know, I always believed it would work. Yeah. And what I've found is that as the business has grown, I've got better and better people on board. It's all very well saying get great people, but when you're a little startup, you've got no money. You can't afford great people. Yeah. Because, you know, if you get great people, you end up giving away all the equity in the business, which I don't think is a good idea either. So you can't afford it. But you get to the point where you can afford it, and you can afford great people, and great people will make a great business. It doesn't matter what they're doing, you know, what the idea is, what the concept is. So when I'm looking at businesses to invest in, I invest in people rather than business.
Okay. And in terms of Charles Tyrwhitt's own growth, over the 26 years it was predominantly mail orders, is that right?
Well, it started as a mail order business because I was, in theory, I was at university. I was doing geography, which is not the most intellectually rigorous subject in the world. I think I had about one essay a term to do, and about 7 lectures a week. So, you know, it was pretty easy. It gave me lots of time to do other things. Actually, what was the question?
I just wanted to know how does your philosophy on great people actually tie into the growth of Charles Tyrwhitt into the retail market, more transferring from the mail order side?
Oh, that's okay. That's a slightly different question. Slightly different question. I mean, I think you know what I've done. I suppose what we've done with Charles Tyrwhitt, I started as a mail order business. Yeah, well, I started as a mail order because I was at university. I could only do mail order. I did have to go to a few lectures, so I had to do mail order. And then it just evolved into really a multi-channel business. I think the internet came along we started our online business in 1998, which was actually, it seems like not that long ago, but it was pretty early on in the internet, world of internet. And the internet was just perfect for us. You know, we're a business, we've got 1.2 million customers, most of them are men, they're at work, you know, and ordering online just works an absolute treat. So what the internet did is it took good old-fashioned mail order. Mail order was a bit of a sort of, you know, it was a bit, historically it's been a bit down market. It's been that sort of big book culture of sort of C2D, and it made direct, the internet did is it made direct a bit more sexy. And it made it made it quite a cool way of selling things. So moving into an internet was great, and lots of young, clever people wanted to get into the internet. So that sort of helped us to attract new people. In fact, we started quite early and were quite successful.
Yeah.
And also retail worked because I'm a big believer. It comes back to this belief in quality, value, service. And I think on the service side, I'm a big believer in the customer should be able to buy. The customer decides how this business develops, and we need to listen to the customer.
Yeah.
I think that's another real cliche that people always say it's all about customer service, but very few businesses really care about customer service. They don't really care about the customer. And so what I want to, if the customer wants to buy online, then I will sell online. If they want to buy by mail order, I will sell mail order. If they want to buy in store, I'll sell in store.
Mm.
So the business has evolved according to what the customer wants. And I think, I suppose as the business has evolved and as it's grown, I think we basically grown at 22% a year every year.
Yeah. For
the last, we were bust in 94, so since 1994 we've grown at 20% a year every year.
Yeah.
And we're still growing 20% a year. And it's that, I think it's that rather wonderful thing about this is, as an entrepreneur, what you find over time, time is a great thing, patience, perseverance. Because it can seem like a real struggle. I meet a lot of people who've started their business 2 years ago, and it's a real struggle. But Jesus, 2 years is nothing.
Nothing.
If you think you're going to do something in 2 years, think again. What you end up with is compound growth is an amazing thing. We did £130 million sales last year, we'll do £160 million this year, we'll do £200 million next year. So, I suppose it took me 25 years to get to 100 million.
Yeah.
But with compound growth, it'll take me 4 years to do the next 100 million, to do 200 million, you see what I mean? So it's you've got to be patient, you've got to wait, and you get good people as you go, and it sort of works out in the end.
Okay. So, following on from what you just said about the expansion of the company, especially through the retail side, how do you personally quality control the products which are going out? Because I know Charles Tyrwhitt is known as one of the highest quality shirts off the rack on Jermyn Street. How do you continue to just assure your customers that your quality is always going to remain the same, even though you're growing at such a rapid rate?
I think there's a sort of, one thing you do learn as you grow a business is that you can't do everything. And if you don't learn that, then you stop growing. And so you need to be a good delegator. And you need to trust people to do a better job than you do, basically. And I think that was always easy for me, because when I first started, I was in a room, a quarter of the size of this room. And I did everything. I was the third, I packed the boxes, I did marketing, merchandising, finance, and everything. And then over time, then you get somebody to help you with answering the phone, and somebody to pack the boxes. Then you get someone to do the finance, and someone to do the marketing. And you get, over time, you get people to do little bits of the business. And what you tend to find is that if you get good people, they end up, well, not even that good, but I mean, almost anybody will do it much better than, start to do things much better than I did. And I think, you need to create a culture in the business around what you believe in and how you want it to be. And one of the cultures, the culture for us is quality, value, service. Quality of product is absolutely at the core, at the heart of the business. And so you recruit people who care passionately about the quality of the product. And I would hope they care, if it's possible, they care about the quality of the product even more than I do. And if you get good people, and we've got, you get, well organised, well thought through quality team, and they will make sure that the factories perform at a level that is the right level for us. And you have to create that. You have to create the culture. You have to create the atmosphere, the feeling that everybody takes a real pride in what we do, and a pride in the product. And then you end up with a product that works and the customer likes.
Brilliant. So now, I've worked in one of your stores personally, and what I noticed was that you have a lot of international customers. So it's no longer just your standard English gent who's coming in to buy a bunch of shirts. The majority of the customer base now is international. What sort of plans do you see for internationally expanding, especially into markets like Asia, where they're still very much after the luxury products, the British brands, and those type of things? Do you see any sort of massive expansion into those areas?
I think that this really comes back to keeping it simple. We now, I think about 55% of business is overseas. So we sell more shirts overseas than we do in the UK. So we are quite an international company. Yeah. And I know we have a lot of international clients. And it's one of the great things about selling a British shirt. A British shirt is known around the world for being a staple of the business wardrobe. Yeah. And people love German Street, and they buy into that whole concept. And what we've done is we've got stores in the US, as you know, and we've got mail order in Germany, and we've got mail order in Australia. And I think adding new territories is quite complex. Asia is a huge market, but the UK is a huge market, which we're still not that big in. The US is a huge market that we're still tiny in. And Germany is a pretty big market that we're still pretty tiny in. So I think the important thing is not to get too carried away, and it's not to think, God, there's an opportunity over there, let's go and grab it. Oh, there's one over there, let's go and grab it. Let's launch in China, let's launch in India, let's launch in Brazil, let's launch in Russia. You start doing everything everywhere, and it doesn't work. It is about keeping it simple, keeping focused. I think we could be £1 billion business without going into any new territories. And I think going into new territories, it might be fantastic and it could really take off. And I know there's a big market there. There's a hell of a lot of people who wear shirts in China and who wear shirts in India, huge numbers. But it's complicated. There's language barriers, there's extra distance barriers, there's regulation, there's red tape, especially India is quite a different place to deal with. And so, it's quite nice just keeping it simple. Where if we can carry on growing at 25% a year, I'm happy. I think if we started to stagnate, we'd start looking at, hang on a minute, why are we stagnating? Why aren't we growing in our existing countries? And if we really felt that we'd exhausted the existing countries, then it'd be time to go overseas. And I think, a lot of businesses, I think, they go overseas too quickly. People get they think it's rather glamorous. And they think it's quite cool being an international business and selling overseas. But in many ways, it just adds that complexity, and you're much better off really focusing on the UK. And I think in the shirt business, we went overseas to Germany and the US too soon. Really? And our competitor T.M. Lewin stayed in the UK, as you well know, and they have a lot of shops in the UK, possibly too many.
Definitely too many.
But they did very well in the UK by sticking to the knitting and sticking to their core market. So I think it's important to go overseas at the right time, not too early, but when you do it, to really focus on, decide which country you're going to do and conquer that country rather than going scattergun.
Fair enough. With that sort of mindset, I'm assuming that you're not very fond of private equity investment into retail or luxury brands. I mean, recently the CEO of Jimmy Choo was saying that she regretted any private equity involvement in her business, even though from their end that was what made the brand explode. Now, just like your take on that, really, do you think it's a good idea to involve private equity guys? I think you need to decide what sort of a business you are, what sort of a business person you are. I mean, I always think, my analogy is I think of business people as either hares or tortoises. And I don't know if you know the story of the hare and the tortoise, but the tortoise wins. And the tortoise just goes very slowly, it just keeps on going, keeps on plodding away. And the hare is the sort of business guy who needs to do the next deal now, he needs to, run like the clappers, raise a load of money, conquer the market, sell out, or, and it's all sort of up and down, start, stop, it's all sort of exciting. The tortoise just keeps on going, you keep plodding away, and you get that compound growth, grow 20% every year for a long time, and it starts to get ridiculous. You become huge. And I just never wanted private equity. I've never wanted outside investment in the business. I always want to run the business with a long-term view. I have my own view about how I want this business to be in 20 years' time. And private equity guys come in, by their very nature, they come in and they have a short-term horizon. They need to get out again in 5 to 7 years. They have a fund that they need to realise, and they need to return the money to their investors. And I just don't want that. I don't want somebody coming in and telling me what to do to maximise profits in the next 2 years. I want to build a great business over the next 20 years. So for me, private equity is not good. But for some people, it's a good thing. And people have made lots of money out of private equity if that's what you want to do.
For me, it's not so much about making money, it's about creating a business, what I call a great business. You know, in a great business, I know it's a bit wishy-washy, but I think it's a good thing. I think people starting out in business need to think quite carefully about that. It's if you're just doing it to make money, you're going to have to watch out, because it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do, I want a great business, and my definition of a great business is a business where, you know, the customers love Charles Tyrwhitt. I want to absolutely love Charles Tyrwhitt. I want the people who work in the business to love Charles Tyrwhitt. And I want the suppliers to love Charles Tyrwhitt. I don't really care actually about sales growth, profit growth, but those are byproducts of making those three groups of people happy.
Yeah, it's a good strategy and good ethos to have, I think. And every strong business is a strong leader who has a clear vision, like you said. In terms of more of the technical side of things now, I know you spent a year or so working for Bain Capital when you just left university.
It wasn't actually Bain Capital, it was Bain Consulting.
Bain Consulting.
Yeah.
So how did the experiences there, I'm sure you learned a lot there. How did that tie into your then entrepreneurial venture kind of thing? Did you take a lot away from that?
Yeah, I think Bain is a fantastic business actually. They're you know, it's full of very bright people who are absolutely passionate about what they do, which is, you know, they're a consulting firm and they consult for big companies basically, and they try and improve the performance of big companies. So you learn, you know, I learned a lot. I mean, I was very junior. I went in at the bottom level, basically straight from university, and you know, you see how you really get thrown into the deep end. I remember about 3 weeks in, and one of our clients was a waste management business. And I got thrown in, I went to run the board meeting for this waste management business as a 22-year-old straight out of the university. They must have thought, you know, they were all sort of 60-year-old gruff men who were used to burying people in concrete at the bottom of landfill sites. And I turned out to run the board meeting, and I think they just thought it was nuts. But, you know, you learn, it's just something about common sense, really. You know, business is about common sense. It's about looking at the situation and assessing what's going on and doing the right thing. And it was fun, it was great, a lot of fun actually, 2 years, and I worked out in the Far East for them, and it gave me lots of responsibility.
Did you find it difficult at that time to run your mail order business and work for them at the same time?
Well, I did it. It was very much a sort of sideline. I mean, I think, you know, my years at university, I could turn down for about 12,000 a year for the 2 years I was at university, and then the 2 years at Bain, it carried on turning over about 12,000 a year. So, you know, it was small, but it's good though, because, you know, you learn quite a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're doing something, you know, if you know, I had no money to do it with, which is good too, because if you get given money, or if you raise money early on, all you do is you go make mistakes with money.
Yeah.
And then you lose the money that you've got. I think it's quite good to, if you don't have any, you can't lose it. And it's all a bit slow, and some people find it a bit boring, but you learn a lot of lessons. And you make your mistakes, and as you build up and as you make a bit of money, you know, when you made a bit of money out of the business, you find your approach to spending it is very, very different to if somebody's given you some money.
Yeah.
It's sort of, you know, easy come, easy goes. If you've made it, bloody hell, you know it's hard to make.
Yeah, definitely. In your early days then, did you have any mentors or anything who were teaching you as you're kind of teaching us, like those type of lessons?
I never really did have mentors actually. I always had a bit of a disdain for authority. I remember at school you were meant to call teachers sir. And I remember one of my greatest achievements was getting through my entire school career without calling anybody sir, ever. So I didn't like, I sort of always had this feeling that sort of everyone's equal, and I do now. I think, you know, the guys in the call centre do a much better job than I ever did when I was on the phones. And I really respect that, you know, and they know a hell of a lot more about my customers than I do, which I'm slightly jealous of, because, you know, I think having a successful business is about really understanding the customers, and the knowledge they have is fantastic. But I think, you know, so I suppose from a mental point of view, I've always felt that business is about common sense. And I think I'm wrong, actually. I've been wrong. Business is about common sense. Just do the right thing. Just use a bit of brain and do the right thing. And you don't need to go and have mentors. And I think that's a mistake. And I've made mistakes along the way. I've hopefully learned from those mistakes, but I've made them. I made mistakes that I wouldn't have made if I'd had mentors. And I know nowadays mentorship or mentors is a much bigger thing. People are really into mentors. And I think it's great. I think if you can find somebody who's been there and done that, and they can give you advice and warn you of the pitfalls, I think that's fantastic. But I never really had anyone. It was slightly different then as well, because people seem to be starting their own business much more now than they used to. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but there weren't that many entrepreneurs. There was Richard Branson. He was always, he still is in a way, sort of held up as a beacon of entrepreneurs. Yeah. And I remember reading about Richard Branson when I was about 11 in the newspaper and thinking, that was just fantastic, what he'd done, what he was doing. So he was a sort of more of an idol than a mentor. Yeah. I have spoken to him very briefly, but hardly. But I think if you can get a good mentor, that's fantastic. But it was not something I did, unfortunately. If I had done, I might be a lot more successful than I have been.
I think you're quite successful already, to be honest. Just one last question now, I think. Looking back on everything, you didn't have a mentor. If you could go back and mentor yourself, what would be that one piece of advice? Or if there is one piece of advice that you would give your 22-year-old self? I
think the big bit of advice is actually, it's what I've learned from when I went bust in '94 and when I ended up bust in 2007. And that is, the most important thing you need to do is to focus. So, we have a view now where we want to be the best shirt business in the world. That's our aim, that's my aim in life, that's what we want to do and that's what we want to achieve. And I don't want to get distracted. Don't get distracted by other things. So in 1994 I went bust because we were doing about £2.5 million sales, making £250,000 a year. So the business was going on, doing very well. And it all seemed a bit easier. And I remember we were sort of getting a bit bored. And I bought a chain of 6 children's clothing shops. So we were a men's mail order business. We knew about men's mail order. And we basically went into children's retail. And we lost more money in 3 months than we made in the last 3 years. And we just completely lost focus. What we thought we knew about children's retail when we were a men's mail order shirt business, I don't know. It was just really stupid. And 2007, 2005 it started, we did the same thing really. 2005 we were doing £40 million sales, making £4 million profit. And we suddenly decided to go into women's, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit it, children's clothing, formal and casual. And we're a men's formal clothing business. Yeah. And we lost focus again, and we went from 40 million making 4 to 50 million the next year because we grew, because we sold more product, but we made nothing. And we reached a covenant with the bank, and we had real problems. We ended up with £9 million worth of stock of women's and children's clothing that we couldn't sell. And it was a complete disaster. And so I think that is the thing, you need to start early on, you need to get your vision, and you need to be very clear about what you're trying to achieve. And then you just need to be very single-minded and very focused about that. And just, you see the goal and you go for it, you don't waver. And I think that's the thing I wish I'd known. It would have saved me a huge amount of angst and a huge amount of money if I'd known that earlier on.
Alright, well, guys, you heard it here from Nick Wheeler himself. Nick, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today, and hopefully we can sit down again with you sometime soon.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.